This weekend, we're in Belgium, in the picturesque province of Liège. Halfway through the season, it's too early to call the championship. Can teams make good before the summer break, or will they be hoping for a reset? Spa-Francorchamps should need no introduction. From the sweeping curve of Eau Rouge and Radion to the flat-out descent through Pouon. This is just over 4 miles of wonderful racing wherever you look in the Belgian countryside. 15 long and challenging laps await the drivers in today's sprint here at Spa.
And once the lights go out here at Spa, the attention will shift to the first corner, a turn that has seen its fair share of dramatic incidents over the years.
But just who comes out on top when the checkered flag flies? Here we are, the sprint around Spa-Francorchamps. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager 23, episode 59. We're starting our usually after break, but this year before break, mid-season break, Spa-Francorchamps race. So we're in Belgium, and Crawford qualified really well with a P5, but off the line comes out P6 as Ocon has gotten around him in the quicker Mercedes. And Florsch practiced well, but did not qualify well for this sprint race as she's starting from last place. So we're going to push on. This is definitely not a 2-lapper to go aggressive on, as it's such a long race, such a long lap. But we have opened a gap behind us already to Stroll, who is 1.3 seconds down. That's good as we head through here on lap number 2. But I think this is a good time to start settling in for Crawford, at least a little bit. We'll back off, save that battery. Lean on the tires a little bit longer here. We're not overheating yet. Stroll able to close the gap, but that's because ahead of us, they're off the pace. So we've been very, very close to Russell throughout, no further than 3/10 behind. Stroll once again starting to fall back. It's a sprint, so we'll settle in. Florsch gets around Piastri for P19 and begins her recovery. No idea what happened to Crawford as we really, really fell off the pace and ended up behind Tsunoda down to P8. Fuel's already good on the early stage of this one, but getting away from that group behind us is going to be tricky. We're kind of a sitting duck. Our problem is we keep overtaking before turn 1. Cannot lean on the fuel anymore. We're now just in a battle for P7. We got out of range of Tsunoda, and Leclerc actually managed to overtake him. A few laps to go. Let's go aggressive for her and deploy, see if she can't make some forward progress. But here on lap 14, we are overtaking Leclerc for P7. We'll be heading into the final lap. A little bit of a sitting duck here. I think we can just about get the fuel right, but we're going to have to deploy and go attack. P7 or P8 does mean points, but it's not a great position to be in. Can we defend? Yes, we can. Okay, gotta conserve though. Gotta get that last 10th. Florsch is all over the back of Piastri.
We've got a yellow flag here.
Stroll with a spin. Should send him backwards. There's apparently enough of a gap that he got going right away. Feels good. And that is Crawford to the line. P7, that's a couple points. Florsch has gotten around Piastri. There you go. We have a look at Magnussen, but it's not to be. That's a P19 for Florsch, but Crawford, P7. Good sprint.
We've got 44 laps ahead of us here in Spa as we get ready for the Belgian Grand Prix. You can hear the excitement in the crowd here at the Belgian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Okay, I made a little bit of a mistake here. I forgot to pick my race strategy. So for now, we're on the hards. definitely going to be off the pace here. I think on the hards we can easily make a one-stopper work, but it does mean we're going to go backwards in the early stages of this one. And we'll look to strategize and set up for the softs, leaning heavily on the tires early so that we don't lose too much. That after penalties assessed to a number of cars who have new components already, that does give us a little bit of an advantage. Crawford started P6, but now settles in at P7, where I wouldn't mind being. Florsch, P16. I would love to stay there, but there's going to be some quicker cars behind us, and on these hards, it's going to be tough. I don't know if you ever even need to be on the hards at any point in this race, so I think we can lean heavily on them and push throughout. We'll look at what strategy can come from here out of this one as we finish up the first lap. I made a double mistake there. I gave you a bit of an introduction to the race without the face cam on. My bad on that part, but here we are. Settling in. Crawford has dropped to P9, but is at least staying up there, and Florsch is still 16th, 17th, staying in it. We're on the hard compound that nobody else is on, but it does look pretty clear that you're going to need the hard compound today. Softs and mediums don't quite cut it. From the looks of it, it's a real stretch. It's a real difficult thing to try to run just soft and medium, but pushing heavily on the hards can give us a little bit stronger pace, help us keep up. For Florsch, she has a brand new set of softs, so she's able to switch to those a little bit later while just continually pushing on the hards. They're harder to overheat. That's a good thing. For Crawford, we don't have any brand new softs anyway, so medium hard seems the right strategy in the first place. Just make us faster later on. So settling in, just hopefully we don't lose too much here and just keep up. Crawford back up to P9 is good. Florsch not last. And yes, it looks like we can kind of just about stay and push throughout the stint. Crawford, meanwhile, is actually back up to P8. Gio's overtaken Florsch, so let's hope it's not her. VSC is out, and Ocon.
There's a yellow flag.
Pourchaire.
Let's see what happened there.
It's going to destroy both of their races here, even though one is able to continue on. Just lock up from Pourchaire.
Impact between them.
Takes out
They'll
Ocon.
have to pick themselves up after that.
As the race resumes on lap 13, we're P5, P16. Verstappen did put on the hards. Probably going to try to go the distance. That could make him a favorite to win this race, potentially, if he has enough pace in him. But that VSC will definitely save him some time. Piastri in trouble. Sainz, Leclerc in a little bit of trouble as they did not pit. They're going to be on those softs and pitting very early. But fuel is good. Battery's good. And we cooled off the tires, allowing us to push on that a little bit more, a little bit harder, and setting us up for Florsch. We'll want to go one lap late now, set her up on those softs. For Crawford, I think we're just fine going to the mediums. At the time, we wanted to go to the mediums.
It was the Williams driver we see.
Uh-oh.
And the controls
Florsch
lost.
spins
And there'll be
out.
words had after this, I'm sure.
It's like just a spin is all. Yeah, she's fine. We'll see whether she's still at 55% with Crawford at 56%, so nothing too damaging on that. Lucked out, but she did lose a little bit of ground there. Verstappen is ahead of Crawford on those hards. He's going to be tough to beat today. With the fuel nearly right and the battery full. Oh, big Crawford heading into the pits.
Final corner. Just a bit too wide at that point.
Heading for the pits. Misses pit road. Misses pit road as a result. We'll have to go around one more time. Already drops 2 spots to P6. At least it was. This is going to mess up our race a little bit, but a lot of cars have not pit, and we were amongst them. And now Florsch just spun. Second time that she has spun. I don't even want to see it. We're having a day. First I open up with a mistake. We've now had our third mistake of the day from our drivers. This time Crawford does not screw up his entry into the chicane. 3.364 mistake on the left front. Just what we needed. Fourth mistake of the day. Fifth if you count mine. Flourish now on her entry. It's her optimal lap, but we're going to give her one additional lap. If you count mine, we're talking about 5 mistakes overall from the team, even though mine turns out not to be a big blunder. 2.34. That's the best stop we've had in a few races. At least that was clean. And both are done on pit stops for the day. Flores comes out just a lap or two later than Crawford. That's really puts you in a goes to show what these tires are capable of. So there are going to be drivers besides Flourish on this strategy, but Crawford had nothing left. Everything was in the 80s, soft compound wise, and so it is what it is. But as others pit, Crawford's already up into the points, P9. Despite the mistake, we still have Zhou Guanyu, we still have Albin ahead of us that haven't pit, we still have Russell and Norris that haven't pit. Doubt we can undercut them after the mistake that we made, and that's soft compounds, a lot of them behind us for the cars that didn't get into the points. So Crawford could be a little bit on the vulnerable side, but both cars are already good on fuel. Both cars already have some battery to use to defend with later. It's lap 27 of 44 of the race, going very quickly. Crawford, bit of a sitting duck here. It's going to be hard to hold off Gasly, especially at 2 seconds behind Tsunoda. No DRS. Gasly's about to have DRS and is on softs where we're on mediums. I think if anything, Crawford's going to be going backwards, not forwards, and there are a few drivers that absolutely could be threatening to us today. But looking at what the options were without softs, I think we would have been on a medium hard instead of a hard medium. But that lockup, that mistake from Crawford cost us a good 5 seconds. So we would be P7 right now, a little bit further away from those guys, a little less threatened by them. For now, I'm feeling pretty threatened. And immediately gets 2 seconds ahead. That's the thing, is they get such an advantage that they are out of DRS range before we even have, with only one DRS zone. It's hard. It's hard to keep up. So we're down to P10 as Sargent gets around. And Zhou's all over the back of us. But unlike Tsunoda and Gasly, who had the pace to pull away, we are keeping up with Sargent. So I think we've got a chance here at P9 today. But it's not going to be easy. Four car bunch with Zhou Guanyu, Stroll, Sargent, and Crawford competing for that position. But we'll have that ability to kind of push on at the end. Flourish is 18th, just a few seconds behind Piastri, but it's not to be for her either with 2 spins. Final 5 laps, Crawford is down to P11 as Zhou Guanyu has gone to the front of the group, and Flourish has caught Piastri. She just locked up. Her 3rd mistake of the day. 5th. 6th mistake. Her 3rd. Right, 2 spins and a lockup. Pit crew mistake, my mistake, and Crawford's lockup. 6 mistakes today. It's a miracle we're even in the points here, as Crawford has gotten back around. Sargent drops to the last spot here, and we're talking about 2 seconds behind Zhou Guanyu. So Zhou Guanyu looking to pull away. It's 3 laps to go. Let's push on from here and try to open the gap behind us and see if we can get up behind Zhou for a battle for P9. This is our moment at 7/10 of a gap to see if we can get away from Stroll and Sargent. Sargent falls off, so Sargent out of the battle, and we're looking more at the moment of a battle between us and Stroll, but we are not getting clear of Stroll at the moment. So Stroll will have DRS, and that could be tricky. There is 2 DRS zones. Final lap. Norris in the Mercedes looking for back-to-back. 1 lap to go, and we've just gotten within DRS range. It's going to be a tight one here. Stroll still in touching distance as well. We were 7/10 behind. How did we not get DRS? But then we get DRS here as we went through Arush and Radion and just got ourselves in the distance we needed to be. But this is looking a little too far back. But we've really closed up on Zhou here. Just 3/10 behind. Norris takes the win ahead of Verstappen and Sainz, and then 4-5 for the Ferraris. 1 point. 1 point is all we have here. But no, we're not going to compete for this. We needed to have a healthy run into the braking zone for the chicane to be able to undercut, and that's not going to happen. Even if we get DRS here, it's too late to do anything with it. And oh, he's off. He's off. And there you go. 10th place. At least it is worth a point. We also managed to get 1 point, 2 points for the sprint, so not empty-handed. But Florsch will leave empty-handed as she's last of the runners, just 4 seconds behind Piastri. She would have been 17th if not for her mistakes. But can't believe 6 mistakes today from the team. Still somehow got a point. It was 7th in the sprint, so we got 2 points then, 1 point for the feature race, and that allowed us to overtake AlphaTauri up to P7. Alfa Romeo did pick up 2 points themselves, though, and it's tight between the three of us at 26, 25, and 24 points. Haas very much in the dust now. They've been on 6 points for quite some time and look a non-threat for the remainder of the season. AlphaTauri has looked better of late. Alfa Romeo looked strong early, but they're the ones who got a couple points today. So those two are not done, but I think we have what it takes down the stretch here with Crawford to certainly outscore them the way we've picked up 21 points just in the last 2 races. I think we will continue to outpace them and pull away a bit. So it looks... At this point, it's looking like a likely P7 on the season, which is perfect. It's exactly what we were looking for. It's not in the manner we were looking for it. Florsch returns to 1 good stop. We had 1 bad stop, but that helped us on our point scoring. Ferrari had been closing up on us after we had pulled away in 2nd, and we're over 100 behind Red Bull, so it looks like we are likely headed for 2nd this season, but if we keep making mistakes or slow pit stops, you never know, we could still finish 3rd. Crawford's gains have broken him into the 80 plus milestone, so he's now an 80 overall. And our mid-season board review now has us 7th, so that's going to keep the board happy as that's our exact target, but just 1 podium so far this season makes it look unlikely that we'll get it, but maybe Crawford could get there. But at this point, I doubt he's going to see 5 podiums the remainder of the season. Maybe he does podium again. I think he'll be more consistent in the points than what we saw in the first half of the season, but all in all, still a work in progress. The latest car development update does show that the dirty air cornering is still on top, but the actual cornering is starting to slip off the top of the grid. But I've done a single front wing upgrade the entire season, and I've only done 2 to the rear wing. I've been working on some of our weaker areas with multiple side pod and suspension upgrades, kind of getting the bulk of that focus this season, as they were the ones really lagging behind, and we're doing quite a bit of catch up with that so far this season. But top speed still first, acceleration down a couple spots to 13th, brake cooling way down at 16th right now, while the engine cooling is catching up, and actually, even though it's only 73%, is up at 5th. On to the latest driver development update now into August, so very much at the tail end of summer, and our 80 overall Jack Crawford adds a +1 to his weakest pace one, which is braking, +1 to reactions, making him even quicker in that department, +1 to accuracy, all helping him out definitely. And meanwhile for Florsch, +1 to smoothness, +1 to adaptability. She does get a +1 to reactions at least, but it's just she keeps getting it where she doesn't need it. and only 1 out of 3 points being terribly helpful to her here, but that'll definitely help her with her pace. Tanaka, much better. Oh my goodness, much better for her. +1 to cornering, +2 to braking, +1 to control, all very useful. +1 to overtaking, and +1 to defending. Certainly not bad. And we're talking about a +6. Am I wrong? No, that's a +6 for Tanaka. That's a fantastic development month for her. Our level 4 factory update is finally complete. For that one, we have an extra project capacity. Development speed is also improved. So we went from 4 to 5. We're at 9% now on the boost to the project. But this design center is the big one. We still have 72 days till that's done. The wind tunnel is a little bit down here, but only the one. So that's not bad. Race simulator needs to be refurbished. We'll go ahead and spend $3 million on that. That now gets us at $10 million. Finances have not been great for quite some time here as we continue our push through this season, but it's back to stable. It's back to okay.
Hello, and a very warm welcome as we prepare for the Dutch Grand Prix. We're back from the summer break with topped-up tans. Vacation, though, is now over, and it's time to get serious on the track for the second half of the F1 season. There's never a dull moment at Circuit Zandvoort. It's fast, very fast, with long straights and wide curves. But it also features 2 heavy banked corners, where aerodynamic improvements are sure to help our drivers. Get ready for some fighting between the sand dunes, here at the Dutch Grand Prix. The Williams driver, their attention purely on the race now.
I think they could have been higher up than 20th, but let's see if they can move forward from here.
This should certainly be a good one, folks. Here we go. It's the Dutch Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Well, this could be a quick race. Crawford qualifies P19th, Florsch qualifies P20th, and I don't think it's the car. It looks like Crawford messed up in qualifying as he literally out-qualified Florsch by the smallest of margins. Florsch was nearly 19th herself, or 18th herself, as she was right off the back of the grid. But either we really do not have pace here, or Crawford just put it in a really poor qualifying. Our hope today, to go very fast through the first stint. I've gone for the medium soft strategy with both cars as an attempt as we've gone around. Albin, who ran wide, almost half the field has started on the mediums, just as we have, knowing that we were going to be slow here initially. I also went ultra light, 3 laps that we were light on, and we do not seem to be recovering fuel at all. At all. Oh my. There's going to be a lot of lift and coast, and Florsch is 6 seconds off the back here. Let's start her lift and coast now. Gasly in the Alpine, and is that Porsche or Stroll? They both end up running a little bit wide, but they should be able to continue on easily after that contact between the pair. It's just going to bump them to the back. Stroll was the other one, I believe. Yeah, Stroll and Gasly come out, rejoined behind Crawford. Crawford stuck at the back of traffic, unable to overtake on these mediums. Let's have him also. Stroll picks up a 5-second penalty. Lift and coast for a little while. This is looking like the track that's not balanced when it comes to fuel. All right, Florsch has recovered 1 kilogram worth of fuel. I think that's good enough for now. Crawford all over the back of Porsche has recovered better than a kilogram, but can't go forward. Overtaking has been difficult, but we do finally make some progress here. We'll see if we can close up on Sargent up to P11 for the time being, with those on the softs already pitting. We could have tried for an undercut strategy, but just the traffic made me feel like setting us up for a later push was going to be kind of the key to go forward. Wow, double negative for Crawford as Signs comes out of the pits, seems to block us off, and Stroll bursts past both cars, and Crawford ends up further back.
What happened there?
Verstappen. Mercedes, let's see, 6. Who's that going to be? Same corner. Verstappen turns in on him. It's 100% his fault. That's got to be it's Norris or Ocon. Hard to tell which one. I guess we could tell if we look closely here and see their number. It's looking like it's Norris. That was a battle at the front. Verstappen does get the penalty. Lap 29 now, near the end of the stint. It's almost time to pit. Crawford has been overtaken by Russell, but otherwise held his position. Now Magnussen also overtaken, so we're starting to get that drift back as we've gone below 40%. Meanwhile, Florsch has already started moving back. She's been overtaken 4 or 5 times by drivers on fresh mediums for the most part, maybe fresh softs. The slow fuel recovery continues, and we're onto that optimal pit stop. Time to start pushing softs the rest of the way. Better pace from here on out. Let's go aggressive. Florsch also can go aggressive now. Now, as both of our cars failed to make it out of Q1, we have plenty of tires left. Those Q3 cars could have a selection headache that could help set us up for being in a better position and gaining time at the end. But of course, we started so far behind, it is going to be difficult to realistically do anything. I mean, Crawford dives off into the pits in 11th. 2.54. Florsch, not far behind, though started directly behind. 2.46. Little bit better time, almost a 1/10 of a second better. And both onto softs and are going to definitely be faster the rest of the race. But here we are coming out in P18 and P20. So the gains begin from here. Definitely not on that first stint. That fuel recovery did help us a bit, and we've certainly made some progress, but we've got a long ways to go yet on getting the fuel recovery where it needs to be by the end of the race, and we're halfway through. Crawford gets around Gasly. Begins that forward progress. Gets around Piastri. Coming up on Sargent next. Sargent into the pits. Pace finally starting to show up now that we're on the softs. Crawford up to 14th and progressing quickly. Up to 13th as we get around Gio. Maybe hope yet. Get around Pourchaire, 12th. Meanwhile, Florsch, who was well off the back, is now just 3 seconds behind Sargent. We are making some progress there, but she's also getting closer and closer to that getting lapped situation. Let's lift and coast a little bit for her, just a little. We'll get it down to 2. Car's pitting. Crawford moves up a couple spots. Florsch ahead of Piastri. Crawford, pit road. Final time today, 2.291. Fantastic stop. Now we're definitely seeing that gap has opened up a little bit as they've been following the same strategy. And Florsch was right about here last time as Crawford finished up his pit stop. Definitely further back this time. 2.483. Not a bad stop, but definitely slower than what Crawford just had. And Crawford back down the grid again. P15. Florsch is last. So Crawford is making some forward progress, and you can absolutely expect we'll continue to make forward progress on this stint, but definitely not in an ideal place to be potentially scoring points today. Gasly pits, comes out behind. We did go that a little bit later, so we can push a little bit harder. Have that little bit left here, but we are behind Pourchaire, and we're a ways back of 10th. We're 19 seconds behind. That is a lot of ground to cover. But what are we looking at ahead or behind us? Behind us, everybody's good to go the distance. Ahead of us, Magnussen. Magnussen's the only one who looks like they might need a pit stop still. Everybody else should be able to go the distance. Our only difference is that we have a pace advantage with fresher softs that should be able to, we can lean on a bit more here. Speaking of, Pourchaire has pulled away from us. Let's start that leaning now. And we're within a second. Let's cool things down, as we've definitely overheated, and we get around Maloney actually quite easy. But now we're talking about 8 seconds to Bottas, another 7 to Stroll. Means we're likely a sitting duck on trying to get away from these guys, and we are more than a second away from Maloney, so we get into that clean air and now ease off. Fuel range, 10 laps to go. Flourish, is she a lap down? Yes, she is a lap down. Not sure what a lap worth of fuel is here, but I'm guessing 1.5 is probably good to go. So Crawford pulling away from Maloney is still managing to close up on Bottas, but I think we're looking at best at a P11 today. I don't think we have enough to get that 10 seconds to Magnussen. Maybe 10 laps to go. That's a second a lap, while also lifting and coasting, while also dropping below 60% here in the near future. Feels unlikely that Crawford's going to make any more forward progress unless it's Bottas. Bottas, well, okay, we could see Magnussen could drop in pace. There's still the slightest chance of a Magnussen and Bottas catch. I don't think Shep Guan Yu is somebody we're going to be catching anytime soon. Fuel recovery happening awfully slow. Florsch, getting absolutely nowhere on the fuel recovery. I wasn't 100% convinced that she made it. We're 5 laps away, still 0.8 of a kilogram down. This is in danger of us running out of fuel. Somehow still 0.7, making no progress on the fuel. We need to go top up as well. That might help us a little bit here. Easing off. We're closing up too on Magnussen and Bottas. We are getting closer to them. The 10 seconds is now just over 5. And we're holding off Maloney, but it's the fuel that's just worrying. It looks like we are going to make it, because now we're at 0.3. Down to 0.1. Okay. We're not going to run out of fuel. That's good. Florsch doesn't matter. She's a lap down. Just 3 seconds behind now as Magnussen's falling off away from Bottas. And I think we can go balanced now, even though we're still on 0.0 with the top up. We're just adding that little more battery, and that's gonna help us get that last ounce of fuel that we need, that last little bit. On board to the inside, 11th place. No fuel to make any sort of push with the fuel. 1.1 behind Bottas, inside a second. Can we get in the points? We are close. We are close. DRS coming up in a moment. We'll take it real time, that's fine. We'll go to the outside, which will become the inside, and we've got the overtake done right as we run out of battery. Neutral. Pushing on, can we hold them off to the finish line for the final point, which is completely unexpected today. It's 1 point. It's not a big deal, but kind of is. Kind of is. That's from 19th to get that 10th position. After the first stint, we were 18th. We'd only gained 1 position. After the second stint, we were 15th. We'd gained 3. So to get 5, to get all the way up to 10th there, with a field that was clean. pretty much all day. We saw like a 1 second time loss a couple of times from a couple light contact incidents. But for us to get that final point, 10 seconds behind that X car ahead, to come from behind. We were 10 seconds behind those guys with about 10 laps to go and having to lift and coast. So catching them while doing the lift and coast, while doing the fuel recovery, and then being able to make that final, I don't know, not dreadful at all. It was a great day, considering how it started. Considering salvaging the point, that's a great day. I'll take it. I will absolutely take it. It's not going to help much here. 12th in the drivers. Constructors, 1 more point with Alfa Romeo scoring 2. They're just 1 point behind us. AlphaTauri just 1 point behind them. The battle's still on, but like I said, I feel like we could pull away. That, by the way, that was some pretty used components that we had on both cars today. So did not surprise me that we had started towards the back. Did not surprise me that we had struggled. Did surprise me that we were able to score points considering where we started. Crawford's a real deal. He's not doing much worse than Sargent, really, not much worse, with quite a drop-off in rating. I mean, -5 in rating, -6 in rating, and doing something pretty similar. Well, Florsch is doing worse than last season, so I don't think the car's necessarily as good, and we're getting something fairly similar out of Crawford. But of course, we were nerfing Sargent a lot to get the results that he was getting, so I think we are further off than I give Sargent credit for right now. Never mind, I retract that statement. But Crawford is doing well. I don't think there's too many times where we would have had a 19th start position for Sargent that would have resulted in points. And of course, that gap ahead, 75 points to McLaren, looks insurmountable. Same with Alpine, just over 100 ahead. It's a little bit too far. So I think that's setting us up for a nice run of a relatively comfortable 7th here. We're past halfway. We've got 10 or so races left to go, is all this season, and I think we're going to be fine. The thing is, we've got to make a decision about next season and whether we want to get somebody in that seat who has some pace to help them develop and put us in that survival mode. We're just getting that 7th this season, and it's going to be difficult to ask more. I think if anything, maybe we just take one more step further back, a little bit closer, with somebody a similar rating to Gota, but a bit more racy, who can overtake. I'm starting to get a better feel for the attribute breakdown and what's going to make a driver fast in our car and capable of making overtakes when necessary. 1st and 4th with the pit stops today. That 2291 was fantastic, well faster than anybody else on the day, and helps us affirm our 2nd place in the fastest pit stop award. Kept it clean this time. That's good. After we had an additional mistake, it was the first in a while. We had so many mistakes at the start of season 4 or 5, right? In just the first handful of races. Over the last 7 or 8, that was the first mistake in a while. So maybe 2 over that stretch. Still worse than all of the last couple seasons combined, 2.5 seasons or something like that. But better than the beginning of the season at least. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.